just gonna hit the record button. Yep.
All right, well, welcome back to the Nub. It's been a while since we've podcasted, casted the pods. Thanks to Irma and everything else, I'm sure.
We're in the official spooky Halloween living room studio.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy in here. I like it. I like the picture of the bat for some reason. It's just like a from an educational book. It looks like.
I feel like if I were like a strange doctor, you know.
Mm-hmm. Like a Doctor Strange, as it were.
No, a strange doctor.
Okay.
You know, when I was like, you know, I'd do finger dances and.
Do you, like somebody who got their doctorate in strangeness?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the name wouldn't be strange.
Wouldn't actually be like
the actual profession would be
a
strange.
human
so you would have
doctor. No.
you would have a PhD in strange.
Yeah, kind of
Okay.
like how Dr. Horrible has a PhD in horribleness.
Yes, exactly. I understand now.
Mm-hmm. I would have that.
So, big thing that we got to talk about, obviously, is the Nub meetup coming up in November 4th.
Is that this November?
That's this November.
Oh, wow.
November 4th, 12 to 7. We're going to have, what are we going to have? We're going to have a cosplay contest.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have free pizza, free donuts. There's going to be discounts at both Famous Faces and Funnies and Get Your Fun On. There's going to be door prizes. There is going to be sketch competitions. There's going to be sketches in like drawing, not sketches in like, you know, put together. Although that would be funny.
I have some thoughts on that we can touch on.
Okay, well, let's
the
touch on it
sketch.
right now. Like,
Well, all right. So I feel okay. So I went to Dragon Con,
yes.
right, in August, and it was quite the time.
Mm-hmm.
So they do various cosplay contests, and some of the contests they give you the opportunity, I guess, to put on a small little play,
Okay.
right? And I feel like some of it is just so fucking weird. Like, you know, you look at some of these people and they're reenacting a scene from the anime,
Okay.
and they're just pantomiming over the audio they created themselves, right? So the production quality is like
Fantastic.
non-existent. It's like it's bad.
It's basically like Steven Spielberg-esque, you know, just
Maybe
fantastic.
like M. Night Shyamalan when he was making movies in his living room as a child quality. Well, actually, I can't even say that because, you know, that was even pretty good, like compared to. But there were just all these weird fucking sketches, and it's to the point where some of them go on and on and on, and you're like, this one group, and it was like a whole troupe doing like a Steven Universe thing,
Oh, wow.
which, okay, I guess, but it was just kind of like, you couldn't have just put that play on in your living room, and
This reminds me of when we went to a costume contest, a cosplay contest, and there was like a 30-minute long lightsaber fight between Mario and somebody dressed up as a T-Rex.
yes.
And it was like 5 minutes of this was kind of funny maybe, but
Yeah.
the extra 25 minutes
20
could
was-
have been cut. I have no idea what was going on, but I mean maybe that's just something that maybe we just don't understand in the cosplay community. Maybe that's
Well, I feel like the T-Rex thing is starting to really get obnoxious.
Yes.
Like now that it's hit the mainstream memia, like it's no longer mainstream media; it's mainstream memia.
Mimia.
I saw a video the other day of a bunch of apparently it was parents dressed up in those outfits, like waiting for their kids at the bus stop.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, this has gone too far.
Well,
It's finally happened. We've gone too far.
Foxtail and I were at the Tampa MegaCon, and she entered into an anime costume contest, which she won best prop in, and they had like a troupe there that were tap dancing tap dancing nerds.
Tap dancing Deadpools.
Yeah, well, no, nobody was Deadpool, but everybody was in an anime cosplay of some sort, and they were tap dancing, you know. And I mean, they were pretty good, you know. They were like,
I'm down with
it started off kind of like very lackluster, but then they got better and better. But towards the end of it, they're like, "Oh, we have a special guest coming," and blah blah blah. I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe like one of the guests from the actual convention is
Cosplay contest winner Tequila
Yes,
Deadpool.
something.
Cheers
Oh, yeah,
for Cheeto.
You're never gonna live that down.
No.
But No, it was just some guy in one of those T-Rex inflatable costumes coming out to dance with them while they're. I was like, so this is your special guest? Like, this is a complete letdown. But, anyways, I had
that doesn't surprise me.
I had a pretty good time at that Tampa Bay.
You know what's even better than Tampa Bay? Is the Dragon Con.
Yeah, I know. Next year.
2018.
Yes, we will go. But so I don't know if you know this, but Foxtail and I got engaged at the.
You know what? I heard something about that. I think I read it on the Nub. There was a post there, and I just happened to be at work.
It's a funny story, actually, how that came about, because I was not planning on getting engaged for another couple months. And Irma happened. You know, everybody had to deal with that BS. And Stan Lee said that he was going to actually come to the Tampa Bay Comic-Con after Irma because he wanted to raise some money for, you know, the victims of Irma and stuff like that. And I was like, this is awesome. So this is obviously Stan Lee's last appearance in Florida, because he's pretty much said, you know, he's not coming back to Florida again because he's 95 years old. Like, he can't be, you know, out traveling all over the place to do this stuff. Well, it's everything, I'm sure. Yeah. So he's probably not coming here till he retires. Yeah. He'll probably retire like what, 102, something like that.
He's worried he might like
it and like,
or he might just like show up and then be like, hey, you know, you can't leave.
Exactly, like he just gets sucked into California. A nursing home. But so yeah, my original plan was that I was going to propose to her when we got our pictures taken with Stan Lee. You know, we were supposed to have our pictures taken with Stan Lee Friday evening. And there was a bunch of accidents on the way to Tampa, and it took us like almost 5 hours to get into Tampa, so we missed the opportunity for our photos by like 30 minutes. But we were going to his live panel, so we decided, I decided, because obviously she didn't know anything about this. I decided, well,
you're gonna propose to me.
Yeah. Well, I guess we missed our opportunity for you to propose to me. But no, so I decided, sorry, again, not we, that I was going to propose to her at the panel. So we get to the panel relatively early, and by just dumb luck, the kid who was not paying attention to anything there, who was supposed to direct people where to go, just told us to, hey, just go get in a line over there. So we ended up in a line that was the first line to get into the actual show, you know? So we were in there first, and then I look over and to anybody who's been to a panel before, they usually have a microphone or a couple microphones set up, and of course this is the Stan Lee panel, so I think there's like 5 microphone stands, you know, set up for people to ask questions. And I look at the one closest to me. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to that microphone and ask a question. And Foxtail's like, okay. And I was like, listen, when I go to ask this question, I want you to film me because I'm gonna ask him like a really cool question. And she's like, okay, you know. So I'm first at the mic stand, and the next guy that comes behind me, I'm like, hey, do you know how to use an iPhone? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I was like, do me a favor. I'm going to ask Stan Lee a question. Can you just film his reaction? He's like, oh, yeah, no problem. So everything's set. You know, I'm thinking, you know, I'll probably be like the third or fourth person he asks to answer, to ask a question, stuff like that. So I'm just kind of chilling there. And right after they introduce Stan Lee and he does a couple little songs with the crowd for whatever reason, because he's 95 years old and he just does whatever the hell he wants, they ask me first. You know, they turn to me first for a question. So I'm like, oh crap, first person up for a question. So I ask my, you know, I start like rambling a little bit about, you know, oh, you're a big inspiration. You know, you've you know, taught us all to face our fears. Blah blah blah. Just like this, like a little bit of a ramble beforehand to kind of like get myself really like worked up to do it.
Self-amped up.
Yeah, and then I'm like, hey, I want to ask a question, but I don't want to ask it to you. I want to ask my girlfriend if she'll marry me. And of course, you know, Foxtail is filming, and though it's funny, is on her video, it's, you know, she goes, oh fuck.
Oh, shit.
But the guy that's filming behind me has no idea that any of this is supposed to be happening, so he's like searching the crowd for her to find out where she is, you know, and she comes up, and, you know, I propose to her and she says yes and like that, and Stan Lee's up on the stage, you know, like, if he wants to marry him. He's just being Stan Lee, and I mean, it was just phenomenal. And the entire rest of the con, people were coming up to us like, oh, congratulations, you know, congratulations. So we're like kind of like mini celebrities. We even made it in their newspaper there in Tampa. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Proposed to in front of Stan.
Yeah.
Proposed to Stan Lee.
Yeah, proposed to Stan Lee. They got the story wrong, but now apparently Stan Lee and I are moving to New York and, you know, getting hitched. So
worst things that have ever happened.
Probably not for him.
Yeah, that deal really doesn't work out.
He's like, wait a minute, I get a fat, balding, bearded man. Like, no, this is not how I'm spending the rest
Wait
of
a
my
minute.
life.
Do you have gentle hands?
Yes, I've heard a story.
Heard a story about your hands. Very gentle.
So, how was your experience at the Dragon Con there?
It was pretty good. It was really, oh man, it was packed beyond belief this year.
Mm-hmm.
It really was, and of course, basically it's Elevator Con.
Mm-hmm.
At some points because
you told me about that. You told me that because it's the entire hotel, right?
No, it's like the entire of like 5 hotels.
Okay. Yeah. And then you just like every floor's got something going on. There's like little parties and stuff.
Well, yeah, like the first like so many floors of each hotel, they have like concourse areas which are all completely just like open and they have stuff going on all the time. Food, drinks, party. One hotel, I forget if it's the Sheraton or the Marriott, just has a constant dance party in like they have this open atrium and the things wrap around. And then there's one where they have like a lot of the big celebrities. Mm-hmm. That's where we saw Matt Smith this year.
Oh, okay.
So that was super cool.
Oh, you actually got to see him?
Yeah.
Did you get pictures with him or?
No. He's about the size of an ant.
In real life? Yeah, that makes sense.
In real life, so that's as close as I'll ever get to him. Mm. But, so yeah, that was pretty good. And, yeah, I mean, it was phenomenal. It's the first time I've gone in a couple of years. Yeah. So that was, it was nice, but this is the first year where I was really able to get like an itinerary and be like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to do this. Oh,
Foxtail and I do that every time. That's just the way that we do it because we want to go to as many panels as possible. I will say though, like the Tampa Bay MegaCon is still not as good as the Orlando MegaCon. Mm-hmm. They are still lacking quite a bit, but they're getting there. I mean, they had Kevin Smith there this time. They had Stan Lee there this time. They had like some guy from Vampire Diaries that Foxtail is absolutely in love with was there. I don't know who he is, but apparently he doesn't. Hot. Apparently he doesn't sparkle, so I don't know. Yeah. But different kind of vampires, I guess. But anyways, so let's see. You saw it, right?
No, I didn't.
Well, then you know what? Just
I saw the Stephen King.
Leave the podcast because I mean you need to see it. Bill Skarsgård does such a good job as Pennywise. It was really, really entertaining. And it's not the bad part for me is that it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time with scary movies anyways. They don't really work on me as it were. But I was at least expecting more, like gore, or more
apparently frights. They cut out a baby eating scene.
Oh man, I wish they kept that in. That
they like cool. Had like a flashback or like early on in the movie, they like show him like
just fully down on a baby,
just like trying to like turning from like a monster into a human. There's like all these different like scenes and he's like talking to this lady and this baby's like frightened and basically it establishes that he gains control over like the complacency of the town with his desires, and this lady's like, oh, you can't have my baby, and he's like, I'm gonna eat it or else I'm gonna kill you, and then she just like kind of gets this like glossy look on her face and then sets the baby down, and you can hear him in the background just like
just
nomming away at the baby,
like it's a piece of chicken or something like that, like he's got some Kentucky Fried Chicken,
oh yeah,
some lip smacking and stuff like that. That would have been absolutely frightening, though. That would have been nice. They should have kept that in. Like,
yeah, that should have been like the opening scene of the movie.
He did his interaction with Georgie at the beginning though was really good. Like, I mean, it was, taking nothing away from Tim Curry, but Tim Curry had to do it for those were the original 2 were made for TV movies. So they couldn't really be as gory or anything like that as they were in this movie. So
your dad's very smart, Georgie. Like that scene.
But the whole thing with Bill Skarsgård doing it was great. Like he has this like kind of like whimsical like almost like you almost like the Pennywise clown at first, and then he gets this like glossed over gaze where his eyes kind of go in 2 different directions and stuff, and he starts. He's like, he's about to. You can tell he's about to like do something terrible to this kid. But
yeah, it's like he's about ready to get his hit.
Yeah, but I swear it's like that. Yeah, a lot like that. Like he gets like he looks like he's actually getting high off of basically about to eat this kid. So, but when he's sitting there talking to him, he's like, "Hiya, Georgie." He's got this whole like kind of like playful thing to it. Do you like popcorn? And you're like, oh my god, he's kind of cute. Like, I want to take this clown home. And...
I want to go snuggle Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm thinking of the actor underneath. Like, oh. Yeah. But I've been listening to the Audible of it, you know, and man, that clown is a lot worse in the book than he is in the movies.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, he's absolutely terrible.
I was reading.
Shapeshifts into all kinds of terrible things, and
watching a YouTube video about it. They were actually talking about what he is, and I guess in Stephen King's Marvel universe, you know,
in the Steven universe,
in the Kingverse, the Kingverse. I think it's called the Steven universe.
Yeah, it's called the Stevenverse. Steveverse.
Isn't that a show? Did I just say that? Steven Universe? No, but like he's apparently some type of like. So in The Gunslinger, I remember the Outsiders or whatever the hell they are.
Yeah.
That's what Pennywise is.
Oh, he's one of the Outsiders?
Yeah. Oh, okay. He's like a really like nasty like. He is the opposite of the giant turtle thing.
Yes.
Right.
Well, you know that. Well, I'm sure you know. I'm sure most of our listeners know that the Stephen King books are all intertwined together, and they're centered basically by the Dark Tower series, because the Dark Tower is what connects all the different realms together, all the different dimensions and everything like that he goes to. So I could imagine like one of those creatures getting through somehow the Dark Tower and then into this just.
It just came down like during the time of the dinosaurs and sat dormant.
Just kind of set up shop and.
Like, oh, wait a minute, I need to eat Georgie.
I mean, because basically they talk about how this has been happening in the book. It's every 25 to 27 years, you know, somewhere in that time frame. You know, there's just horrible things that happen, a string of murders and stuff like that, and then they coalesce into like one big bad event, and then there's nothing for a while. You know, so like at one point in time, one of the Michael, the boy whose dad's a farmer and everything like that, is telling a story about how, you know, how things were for blacks and things like that back in I want to say the 60s, somewhere in there, when he first moved to Derry, like how, you know, people, you know, treated him and stuff like that. But there used to be like a base there in Derry, and the blacks obviously couldn't, you know, go to their base club and things like that, so they created their own club. And at this club, there was a horrible fire. And in that horrible fire, he saw, you know, I'm totally like cutting all this down to, you know, just like the bare essentials of it. But in this fire, he sees like Pennywise's face, basically. Pennywise is like some kind of giant bird or something, you know, and he's like with the face of a clown kind of thing, and he's like in the middle of the fire and all this other stuff, and you know, all these, and then after that, there's nothing horrible happens for a while. So, you know, at one point in time, there's like an explosion in like the 40s or something like that kills a bunch of kids like during Easter. I think they actually show that in a picture in one of the books that the chunky kid, I can't remember what his name is, was reading in the movie. Though they show like he's flipping through the pictures, and one of the pictures kind of comes to life and shows this explosion at this I don't remember exactly, like some kind of not power plant or anything like that, but some kind of factory,
an explosion factory.
Yeah, an explosion
factory where they made explosions.
Where they make explosions, exactly. Yeah. And then like some little kid's like head like ends up in a tree and things like that. So, but like there'll be all these horrible murders and things that happen, and then, you know, something terrible happens to kind of end that. Except for in it, where the kids beat the shit out of the clown, and they stop the cycle for a little while. So, but no, it's really interesting. Like, especially listening to the Audible book, because like the kids after they defeat Pennywise the first time don't remember anything really. They don't remember each other. They all kind of go their own separate ways. They don't remember each other until they get a phone call from one of the kids who tells them it's time to come back, you know, and it all starts like rushing back to them. Whoa. So it'll be interesting to see what caused. Monster. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what caused the whole amnesia thing for them as I'm listening to the Audible book. But
so on a side note about Stephen King, they were filming one of his I don't remember which movie it was, but it was this big old horrible bat thing. I don't remember which.
Is that Salem's Lot, maybe?
I don't know, but I know they filmed a portion of it down the road from my house.
Okay, I think it was Salem's Lot.
Little
because he turned because it's like I love when people say this. It's one of them Draculas, you know. It's one of them Draculas.
Yeah, that was probably it. And I remember they were filming it, and my mother just kind of casually going, "Oh look, look at that!" And I just see this fucking awful goddamn giant like bat thing,
Mhm.
you know, and it's
And
like
your mom's treating
attacking
it-
this lady.
Your mom's treating it like it's just like
It's
a
just
regular
like a
thing.
and
Like,
I'm just like,
oh, look, another one of those giant bats is eating
and
one of our
you know,
neighbors.
I wonder why I had fucking phobias as a child, like the dark and shit, because I saw that and it was. I thought to say it was like a practical effect or something. Like I don't know, maybe it's that Mandela effect getting me. You know, it's that time traveling warlock changing my memory.
Probably.
But God, I want to say I remember that. Like, or maybe she was like yelling at nothing. I don't fucking know.
See, it's funny because I was raised where my dad put on a haunted house since I was like 4. He'd do a haunted house every year since I was 4. And his original haunted house that he used to do were pretty were pretty hardcore. Like there are a lot of animatronics and stuff, but a lot of like the really like horrific deaths and things like that. And then as time went on, they got a lot less violent and gruesome because he started doing them for charities. So he's trying to raise money for like the Boy Scouts and stuff like that. If you're trying to raise money for the Boy Scouts, you can't really have somebody being ripped in half with like blood squirting everywhere. You kind of have to tone that stuff down quite a bit.
That?
Well, I mean, theoretically at least.
Put that to the test.
Theoretically.
Hey, Boy Scouts.
Hey,
any Boy Scouts out there?
Which is actually sad because this year we're not doing the Haunted History Tour because just too much going on.
Irma kind of took a shit on it.
Yeah,
I was really looking forward to it, but I figured once the storm hit, I'm like,
yeah, not gonna happen. Next year we'll be doing it next year.
prep that they gotta do.
But that aside, so that's the reason I have a hard time with like scary movies and stuff like that because I've known this stuff is fake since I was a kid.
Well, you had a first-hand,
like
view of like practical effects.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was like
the only movie that honestly bothered me, I think we've talked about this before, but the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it looked like a snuff film. Like that movie really messed with me. But everything else has really, every time I try to see a horror flick, I'm like, I mean,
one horror movie that really got me was Next.
Next, what is that?
It's a movie with Nicolas Cage where he plays a psychic.
That wasn't a horror film. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, really?
It's just a bad Nicolas.
Really, really
Nicolas
bad.
Cage
like I just, you try to sit through it, and it's
well,
just,
and if that's the case,
torture.
If that's the case, then Ghost Rider absolutely frightened me.
Oh, that was also bad. There are people I know that. Oh yeah, Ghost Rider. That was a great movie.
It's like, what is wrong with you? Do you not see good movies? Is that what it is?
Have you
when
been
people
to
say
the
when people defend a really crappy movie, like sometimes I wonder, like, do you not know what a good movie is? Like, have you never seen a good movie?
Have you not seen The First Taken? Like, pretty much, there was never a need to make any movie ever again after that. Like,
weren't we just having a discussion about this last night about Taken? Like,
yeah, we were making fun of it.
He's got a very particular set of skills, but obviously those skills don't include any kind of like actual home protection, defense.
He can't actually stop anyone from getting taken. He can only recover them.
Completely reactionary. I have a very particular set of skills.
You're going to be taken. And then it's going to be great, though. There's going to be a lot of action scenes. There's going to be a chase.
We're going to get 2 more movies out of this, too.
I'm totally going to stab a guy in the legs with some nails and then electrocute him with nails. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fantastic.
Oh.
All right, Georgie. Oh, sorry.
Hiya, Georgie. You're going to get taken.
You're going to get taken.
Pennywise, the dancing clown.
Do you smell the circus?
I'll find you. And I'll dance with him.
Oh, the dance scene thing. You have to see it, man. Like
I saw the clip of it where he's like,
you know what? You
and
I should just go. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. You and I should just go see it this weekend.
It again?
Yes, I would like to see it again. I just love that movie. It was so good. It was so good.
I just got into this thing where I was just laughing my ass off watching the sewer scene from the original movie. I don't know why it's so funny to me. Oh.
Well, the original movie, if you actually watch the original, it's pretty horrible. But
yeah.
I mean, Tim Curry's great, but the movie
it's
itself
horrible
is
in a
just,
great way. Like Tim Curry's so ridiculous. It's just oh.
So anything going on in the gaming world now? I mean, I know you haven't really been playing Overwatch, right? With the
no.
I got that new Cthulhu or the Cult skin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, for Zenyatta, it is fantastic. He's got his little like
flappy doodles.
His little flappy doodles, and some call them tentacles.
Yeah, flappy doodles.
Where his mouth should be.
I got pretty good at Battlegrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Playing that PUBG.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten quite a few regular chicken dinners. I'm not saying that I'm top 10, but I'm definitely top
like 460.
Probably top 500,000.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm on the other end of being bad. You know, I'm right there in the middle. That's where I want to be.
Right. So
You don't get
straight in the middle.
You don't get accused of cheating. You know. Like,
Well, it's funny because like I haven't really been playing any games with the storm and with work and with everything that's been going on. Like it's just been really, really busy. So my brother left to go on deployment in the Navy, and now my sister-in-law in California is completely, well, I shouldn't say completely. She gets lonely and things like that.
Oh, sure.
She wants to play with somebody or something. So me and my cousin and a few other people, we've been getting together every Wednesday to game with her. And man, like my skill level at Overwatch has gone drastically down. Now, granted, there was a lot of buffing and nerfing, since I've been.
Oh, they've changed the dynamics of several characters.
Yeah, that I didn't know about. So
McCree stayed the same. He just sucks still.
Yes, McCree doesn't change.
Fuck McCree.
But yeah, I guess they gave missiles to what's her name with the mech?
Diva.
Diva, yeah, she got like missiles, I guess now. Like, so if she wasn't bad enough already, now it's like, oh, let's just give her missiles. Next thing they're gonna do, they're gonna give like a speed buff to Orisa, so she's gonna be just as fast as.
And she can just steamroll over everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
But yeah, sometimes I wonder like why they do certain things to some people and don't do certain things to other people.
They literally haven't made any significant changes to McCree. Like the only thing was he was a great counter to Roadhog.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Roadhog's hook was a big issue. So it's exactly what I said would happen. They nerfed McCree, and then Roadhog was absolutely ridiculous. And then they had to nerf Roadhog.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you have no counter to tanks now.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Nothing, Reinhardt, if you were a good Reinhardt, McCree was nothing to you.
Mm-hmm.
But, whatever.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm about to move over to Destiny 2.
Yeah,
I like the first one a lot, and I love the repetitive. Let's go find loot.
Let's do it again. Yeah, I saw some mixed reviews. There were some people that absolutely loved it.
It'll keep me busy for a couple months. Yeah.
Some people were just kind of, I don't know. Excuse me.
I will say I cannot knock Blizzard with Overwatch though. They are consistently trying to keep it playable, keep it relevant. I'm very upset that they just did the same. Was it Junkrat's Revenge, whatever? Junkenstein's Revenge. It's the same thing. Like they didn't really change a whole lot of it. They just added I think one character to it.
Yeah, they did her before. Naked dragon skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody freaked out over it.
They're like, oh my god. So, there's one thing that I don't know how I can discuss it on the Nub podcast without. How can I put it? All right. So, I think that you would agree that we at the Nub want to keep ourselves Switzerland when it comes to any issues.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. As of late, I've noticed that there's been a lot of like agitation per se, some issues in the nerd community, regarding like I don't want to be too specific because I don't want to really like get into it, but it's really been weighing on me heavily, and I don't know why because I don't normally get that involved in this kind of thing, but I think it's just because I consider the Nub like the universal, nerd group. I've actually been approached by a couple people about basically choosing sides in like nerd arguments, and I've kind of kept the same that I have been keeping is that the Nub is Switzerland, unless somebody were to like openly go on the Nub and say this, that, or the other thing, like we've really got no comment on anything that's going on in the nerd community as far as like beefs or drama, right? But it just hurts me almost. Like I almost take it personally when I see all this negativity in the nerd community surrounding different people or different groups and things like that. Because as nerds growing up and things like that, a lot of us had that persecution and stuff as it was already.
You already had to put up with that,
Yeah, we had to deal with a lot of bullying and things like that.
Like, oh, you like Magic the Gathering? You're a nerd.
Exactly. So I hate when I see that it's actually happening in the nerd community itself. And I don't think there's anything that we in the nub could do to fix it or change it or even get. I really don't even want to get involved in it. It's really not any of our business as long as it doesn't affect the nub itself, you know. But I wish there was like a sit down or something for some of these people where they could just, hash out whatever issues they're having and get over it. Was that vague enough? Did I make that all really nice and vague? It's horrible that I have to do it that way, but I just don't want anybody to think that we choose any side over any other side when it comes to the nerd community. We don't, Yeah. I advertise every nerd store that I can. If there's events, I try to let everybody know about events, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I guess that's all I gotta say about that.
No, you're right. It's like you got these, and I think it's less of an issue. I think it's more of an issue of personalities than anything.
This is very true.
Kind of think it's one of those things that's just it'll sort itself out.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, people develop reputations and places develop reputations. And I remember years ago, gosh, I don't remember exactly where it was. I don't even think the place is open anymore. But I remember it was like a dusty memorabilia shop. Right?
In Palm Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would walk in, and it just kind of wasn't a very friendly...
No, that guy was a jerk.
You would walk in, and it was almost like, why are you here?
Yeah, why are you bothering me? Exactly.
It's almost like his wife made him open a store to sell off his, But yeah, I places like that aren't going to survive.
It was off of Palm Bay Road, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that guy was a jerk. I hated that guy. Mm. I just totally talked about, I want to be neutral and not. I mean, he's out of business now, so I hated that guy.
He was a jerk.
Hated that guy.
I don't know the circumstance there, but I just feel like, the one time I went there, I didn't want to go back.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think I was greeted by anybody.
Well, and so when I was growing up, there was, they're out of business now, so I can talk all the crap I want. There was a place called Space Coast Comics, and it was right off of US 1. By the water there, by the river, and the guy there was not only a dick to anybody who wasn't like his regular, group people.
I think I went there once.
Yeah, it's been closed for a long time now, but
did they have swords and stuff?
I don't remember. I just remember the comic books. That's what I was into. I was into the comic books, right? But my grandmother would take me there sometimes to pick up comic books and stuff like that, and the guy was just a complete dick, and she always used to say that she thought he was a pedophile. I'm like, I don't think he's a pedophile, but, I mean, I was young, though, so he might have been a pedophile, and I just didn't know about it. But
was he a pedophile?
I don't know. Yeah. But,
follow up on that.
But he was a complete ass. Like, he was he was, he had this, superiority complex, because he owned the comic book shop, and I'm like, bro, you own a comic book shop. I mean, it's not like, you're a celebrity, but,
Pennywise is the same way.
Exactly.
He hates the children. But
that's why he
needs to eat them
to
survive.
So yeah, that guy was a complete jerk. But since then, I haven't had any experience like that in any, all the newer comic book stores, all the newer nerd stores and stuff like that. Every time I meet the owners of these places, they're always nice to me. They're always friendly to me. I've never really had any issues.
First time I went to Gamers Respawn over in West Melbourne.
Gamers Respawn, what is that?
It's a new LAN center that opened up.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, and they've got a whole bunch of classic consoles.
You got to contact them so we can start, pumping them on the nub,
Yeah. No, I went there and tried it out, and man, that place was.
I think you sent me a little flyer thing for it, but yeah.
And super nice guy,
I think that's just how you have to be. You just have to,
for the fact that I was a hermit, I would go there.
Yeah. You have to be a friendly kind of guy, though, to own a place like that. But I remember. First time I ever went to Famous Faces and Funnies, it was off of Aurora Road, and it was a hole in the wall. The place was kind of dark. It was a little on the dingy side. This is before Rick owned it. Rick was just a worker there at the time. It was before he bought it. But Rick was always so cool to everybody there, and always helped everybody out. So I kept going back there, and every time I went there, there's only a couple of employees I remember being there, but nobody was ever mean to me. Nobody ever treated me like that guy at Space Coast did. So I kept going back, and it was a drive, to get there, but it was worth it. That's you gotta. I find that most of the I shouldn't even say most, every experience I've had now with the new nerd stores and stuff like that, or the all the other nerd places, have been very positive. Like I have very few complaints about our nerd community. That's another reason it kind of disheartens me, because I worry about there being I worry about any of these places shutting down.
I think there's something to be said about then versus now. Then, you had to go there because it was the only place.
Well, you could order your comic books online, or not online, but through the mail. I did
I
that a lot when I was dealing with that guy. I just ordered a bunch of comic books through the mail. But you always
can't order through the mail.
I mean, nowadays, actually, see, that's the thing that worries me, is because you can get everything that any of these stores could possibly want to have online, and typically a lot of times the prices are cheaper because you're getting them from a place where there's no storefront. It's just literally some warehouse where they got the stuff stacked up and they're selling it. But I like paying, because it's not like I have to pay a ridiculous amount of money for any of these things, and a lot of times they give you the best deal they possibly can. I like paying for the storefront. I like going to the storefront. I like it's like I miss
things.
Yeah, exactly. I miss Blockbuster because I can't like at the Redbox you can't go and just wander down aisles and stuff like that.
You gotta click the button and click the button and click the button. You
yeah,
can't
but
go
you got
there.
somebody behind you getting like really antsy and
Yeah, not only that, but like you go to Blockbuster and they almost were forced to be your friend. You could talk to them about stuff, and if they tried to walk away, you could follow them.
Exactly, they can get away from you.
Yeah,
like that's the thing too. Like with all these nerd stores, like I can
still feel bad for Tommy.
I can force them to try to be my friend, or I can force them to treat me like they're my friend, and I can just wander around and follow them and and talk to them all day. As long as I buy stuff, they can't really complain. So
my friend Tommy, I still do that to him.
Yeah.
He'll listen to this and he'll like immediately relate to that. Like, man, all those people that followed me around, and I was forced to listen to him.
Bunch of jerks.
This guy, he had a beard, and man, he was just.
I actually used to work at a Blockbuster back in the day, and you're right. You kind of had to like sit there and listen to people tell you about how great this one movie is that you just can't stand, and you're just like, yeah, that movie's fantastic. It's awesome.
Yeah, I told you about the hentai man, right?
Mm-mm.
When I worked at Target.
No,
when I ran the electronics department at Target.
Do tell. Especially
speaking
when you say hentai.
of, having to listen to somebody. So this guy asked me, of all weird movies, he wanted to know Seabiscuit.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Tobey Maguire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a horse racing movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, it's my department right over here. So I lead him over and I find it, and he looks at it and goes, oh, right here, this regional DVD right here was just made in Mexico, and it's not going to be good. I got an expensive DVD player. And they had just started getting in like some animes and stuff at Target.
Yeah.
And just for some stupid
sir,
reason.
Where's your tentacle porn section?
Yeah, no, for some stupid reason. And it was this type of guy. He reminded me of the comic book collector guy.
Mm-hmm.
From
worst DVDs ever.
Worst DVDs ever. From The Simpsons. So I was like, well, hey, you like anime? We just started getting some in. He's like, no, I don't like that kitty shit. I'm like, oh, I like that stuff where you got like the 50-foot tall demon, or the demon like the size of a skyscraper, and he pops like 50 boners and stabs a woman in the chest. And I've never done this before. But my reaction,
grow 50 feet and
grow 50
pop
feet
a bunch of boners and
pop a bunch of 50 boners. But I just kind of made eye contact with him, and I shuffled backwards, like
you moonwalked.
I moonwalked into the back room because I just wasn't prepared for that conversation.
It's like the meme with Homer where he's like slowly being sucked back into the hedge.
Shrubbery or something. Yeah. That's exactly what I did. I just started. He probably thought, "What's wrong with this guy?" And I was fully prepared for the disciplinary action. If one was going to come my way, I'm like, my justification would have been.
How's he going to complain? He's like, listen, I was telling that young man about my hentai
and stabbing women in the chest,
and he just walked away from me.
Yeah, I just kind of started walking backwards.
How rude.
Don't know where he went. Don't care. Never want to see him again. It's creepy.
Oh my god. So on that same creepy vibe, my very first apartment that I had, walls were paper thin, like all that kind of fun stuff. Very cheap apartment that I was staying in. But my neighbor next door was really into hentai anime,
Oh,
you know?
God, yeah.
And of course I liked anime, you know, but so I met him one time and he was like, "Hey, you know, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm fine." And he even had like a creepy look to him, very pale, you know, just kind of just he just looked like if you touched him he would be kind of greasy, you know? That kind of guy.
He ate at Denny's a lot.
Probably. But I was like, you know, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "Hey, do you like anime?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, you know, I like anime.
I love a
Yeah,
good anime
anime's
once
cool,
in a
you know."
while,
Yeah, I like to throw down a little anime every now and then. He's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Do you like anime porn?" I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" Like that's kind of a, you know, in my mind I'm like that's a jump. Like we went from "do you like anime" to "do you like anime porn?" And I'm like, I can't honestly say that I've actually really like sought out or watched anime porn
Glint
per
appeared in his
se.
eye.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, then he invited me
You're in
into
for a
his
treat.
apartment, you know, and all over his apartment he's got like just Star Wars memorabilia and stuff like that, and like
Okay.
anime figurines and stuff, and
Sure.
just books. Like his entire living room's got like literally like every wall had a bookshelf on it with, you know, books and things like that. I was like, okay, cool, you know. And then he goes right to his computer, like no like, you know, show me around, nothing like that. He goes right to his computer and proceeds to bring up anime porn, and I'm like, oh, like that's why you invited me in, just to straight up show me some anime porn. I was like, cool. So listen, like all of a sudden I got stuff to do. Like, I think is that yeah, I think it's my mom calling me from the apartment next door. Like,
She said, "Hey, Sonny, I got a whole bunch of not porn
Yeah.
here for you to look
do you like
at.
to watch some non-anime porn? Like,
Just regular old anime with no porn."
it was just a creepy situation. Like, I got a vibe like he might actually kill me and eat me too. Like, it was just a whole like the whole thing.
All
Like,
of a
it
sudden,
just,
his eyes start going in the
yeah,
opposite direction.
they turned yellow and started
Like,
going in opposite directions, and his mouth started to like elongate, and a bunch of teeth started growing. I was like, oh, I gotta go. Like, I just,
But like, listen, you're like, I'm not the one for you.
it's like, do you like anime porn, Georgie? It's like, my name's not Georgie. First
Hi,
off,
Georgie.
oh
Aren't
man,
you gonna watch some porn? Whoa.
don't you like when the anime porn goes pop, 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 pop? I'm like, no, man, I'm good. So, yeah, that was a strange situation.
Sounds
let me tell you.
terrifying.
And I did everything I could to avoid ever seeing him again. And the worst part is literally right next door to me, and the walls are paper thin, like all that. Like, he could have just been like, "Hey, David, you want to watch some of this anime porn that I'm listening to very loudly in my house right now?"
It's like Office Space.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. Hey, Peter, check out the boobs on channel. They're doing the breast exam on channel 9.
What would you do with $1 million? Bang 2 chicks at the same time.
Oh, that cost you $1 million? Well, 2 chicks want to double up on me, might, or however it goes, yeah. I was quoting that movie the other day, too. I love that movie.
God, I haven't seen that in a while.
So, have you seen the new Star Trek show, Discovery?
I don't have Stars. Or whatever is on. It's on like.
It's on CBS.
I don't have CBS.
It is fantastic. Basically, it's the story of I guess this takes place before the Enterprise, but I thought it had to do with the new like Star Trek universe, like relaunch and all that kind of stuff. But I guess this is like original Star Trek from what somebody was telling me. But it deals with the Klingon War, and it's really cool right now. I'm really enjoying it.
I saw pictures of the Klingons.
And you didn't like it?
They don't look like Klingons.
I mean, they look close enough to Klingons.
So it's like they don't look like anything from the next generation. So did they evolve or did they?
I don't know. Maybe that'll be explained in the show. Maybe they do evolve or something happens to them.
Maybe
You know,
they're a different race of Klingons. Maybe they're Klingoffs.
Klingons.
Klingons. Oh, that sounds even gross.
Ew.
I've been watching Orville. I know
Yes.
we talked about that a little bit.
I love the Orville. That's that really took me by surprise. 'Cause I thought that show was going to be like either ridiculously stupid or like a slapstick funny kind of thing, and it's really not. Like,
Every time he tells the girl, "Hey, can you open this
Yeah,
jar
this-
of pickles for me?" She like punches the wall open. Like,
Yeah.
that's terrific.
I just love the very first episode, the pilot, where he meets the guy who's one of the pilots, and he's like, hey, how you doing? He's like, oh, I'm good. So listen, the previous captain let me have sodas at the console, and I just want to make sure that was going to be continued. Like
That was
it just
so
seemed
cool.
like a conversation that you'd actually have, like
Yeah.
in a workplace environment. You know, like I don't know. That's what cracks me up about the show is it seems like these people are more realistic in a lot of ways. Because when you watch Star Trek, it's like there's no way that every single person in the crew is that like straight up like professional. You know, I mean, I know you got Bones, you know, but like everybody else is like so straight laced and like.
Well, I think about like when you say that, I think about the Next Generation because it was so unrealistic, like people's interactions.
Yeah.
You know, the only real person was Riker trying to shack up with everybody. I mean, God, he's the best character in the show. Like, there he goes.
I don't know. I really like that Will
Will
Wheaton.
Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
I know that a lot of people didn't. It caused a lot of problems for him as a kid.
I got. He narrates the Audible version of Ready Player One.
Yes, I listened to that. It was good.
And I'm giving him a shot. I stopped following him on whatever social media just because he just constantly with some political issue. And
yeah,
like,
I stay away from his political rants, but I love to watch the tabletop.
Tabletop is great. And
yeah.
I kind of feel like there's that separation of church and state, though. It's like with Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
I just ignore the Scientology.
Yeah.
You know, because he's really and I've seen interviews of people talking about him. You know, other Hollywood actors that he is a phenomenally nice person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I can only assume that his beliefs and choices he must somehow do that in an earnest, honest way.
Well, my thing with that is just like with everything else. Like, I don't know what your religious background is, and I don't care because that's your religious background. As long as it doesn't like completely define, you know, who you are as a person when I talk to you. You know, like if I talk to you and the entire conversation is about your religious, you know, preference.
I like my cult. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's
we
for me that's
baths.
Anybody who's like that though. Anybody who's like too political, too religious, too anything, usually turns me off. You know, I'm usually more into people who are, you know, like okay, so you're a Christian.
Normal people.
Yeah, thank you. I guess that's the best way to put it. Like,
well,
it's like yes, I go to church. I go to church on the weekend. You know, we have Sunday school. You know, my kids are baptized. Whatever the case may be is, you know, we pray before we eat our meals and stuff like that. But other than that, like, you know, we go see a movie. We hang out with our friends. You know, we have board game night. Whatever. You know,
a lot of that stuff I look at, and I remember this one part in 1984 where it's way after
the
he gets
movie
tortured.
or the year.
The both.
Okay.
The book. And
and the book.
It's way after he gets tortured. It's like years later. So the main character, if you've never read it, he gets tortured and basically this.
Spoiler alert.
Oh shit! You know, it's been out for how many decades? Holy shit! So yeah, like there's this part where he's watching the news and it's basically just a rerun of something that happened before. Like, oh, he knew where the battlefront was going to change to and that this battle was going to win, and he was having deja vu, but immediately suppressed that memory and was like, oh, it must just be, you know, I'm getting really acclimated to our troops, and, you know, he just, like, writes it off, basically.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like any discussions amongst people of religion or politics are ultimately useless because unless you are writing to your congressman or in politics, having that discussion with somebody is not going to benefit or change a thing. It's like arguing with somebody on the internet.
Well, yeah, basically what's going to do is make your relationship worse. It's going to sour your relationship.
Well, not only that, it's just all it's going to do is sour your life. You know, like being upset about, you know, any type of that stuff. I mean,
it's like people on social media now. They get on there just to be upset. You know, they get on there just looking for something to upset them.
Well, I mean, I do that, but I do it in a constructive way. I attack sponsored ads in my newsfeed.
Nice. Foxtail actually showed me this article about a woman whose little girl wanted to dress like Moana. She's a white little girl.
God.
You saw this, right? And like the internet went ballistic. It's like, are you kidding me? Like she's just a little girl dressing up like a character that she likes. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
She also liked dressing up as the character from the Frog Princess, right?
I don't think that was her, but that was like I think that was another example that they used.
Okay.
You know, is that there was another little white girl that likes to dress, or it could have been her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see that one, so I don't know what.
Can we like pause in our society for the second, and think about the absurdity that being objecting to that is the absurdity of it, because you literally have a girl liking and idolizing a white girl idolizing a black character, identifying with her. That is the best possible outcome in our society.
Yeah, it's not like the little girl saw that, you know, like when she was dressing up like Moana. It's not like, you know, the Moana's what, Hawaiian or Samoan or something like that. it's not like she saw the color or anything like that. She saw a character that she liked, that she fell in love with, and that's who she. I mean, let's be honest. Black kids have had to dress like white characters for years because there weren't enough black characters
and look
out
what
there
happens
that,
to them. Look what happens to them when you've got like a girl dressed as a Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's Black Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
No, she's
Cinderella.
Exactly.
There was a like if you see like a little kid with a lightsaber running around and you ask him what character he is and he doesn't say he's a black kid, he doesn't say Mace Windu, he says like Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
is that bad? Like
costume.
No, that's the character he likes. That's the character he wanted to dress up as.
Yeah.
It's like
I think that's how we move forward. That's
mm-hmm.
how we eradicate.
But those people that love to get upset, like they jumped on that as fast as they could. They're like, oh my god, finally! I've been waiting all day. I had a long day at work. I've just been waiting to get upset and to just make these horrible comments. And then so I'm reading a lot of the comments, right? And some of the comments are like, a lot of them are just a lot of them support it, or they said there's not a problem with it, stuff like that. They're like, as long as they don't do blackface, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, first off, the little girl didn't even paint herself up,
No, she
but
just
again,
put on the outfit.
Now let me ask you this: is it wrong if, like, say a young white girl wanted to be that princess from the Frog movie? I don't know what that movie is, and I feel really bad about it. Is it wrong if she does like paint her like put makeup on to make herself look more like the character? Like if she's not doing it, let's say she's not doing it inappropriately, like she's not doing quote unquote blackface. She's not doing the big red lips and that kind of stuff.
See, to me, that's blackface. That definition right there is what it is.
Yeah.
It's harmful and insulting.
So if she's just painting herself to make herself look like the character, because I mean, like we wouldn't give a little kid a hard time if she painted herself to look like Gamora. If she put green paint on,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess that's an area that I don't.
It's a question that you're always going to hit a landmine when you step on it, because there's going to be somebody out there who's going to have some. You have too many people now who deal in identity politics
mm-hmm.
and who are willing to demonize an individual for doing something. Like that little girl. There was a kid who dressed up like Abe Lincoln in a school,
mm-hmm.
and I remember the internet absolutely losing its shit. Or not Abe Lincoln, Martin Luther King.
Oh, okay.
Because he was a little white boy,
mm-hmm.
and he thought Martin Luther King was just a fucking hero, you know, for what he did.
And so there we go. Like,
what the hell is wrong with that?
There's the problem right there. I mean, this is a civil rights hero, who had a dream of of white and black people being together. And now it's inappropriate for a white kid to dress as, Martin Luther King. Like, I feel like there's been all this time where, basically like everything is, quote unquote whitewash. Like in Hollywood and stuff like that, there's all these white characters and things like that,
Oh, yeah.
and, there weren't enough, minority characters to go around, But now that
and then we got Spider-Man: Homecoming, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
Because the character's cultural, race, identity, whatever have you,
mm-hmm.
had zero part. They were just naturally in the story. They were characters in the story.
Exactly, and it's not like they were even playing like stereotypical.
They weren't token
anything.
characters.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
they were just kids that lived in Brooklyn.
That was just such a great turn, I think, in film.
But yeah, like I feel like now there's a lot more black characters in movies and TV shows and things like that. That there's going to be young, boys and girls that are going to want to imitate, and I don't think that there's a problem with that. So why are we freaking out about this? Like this should, a kid, especially at Halloween. The whole point of Halloween is for you to dress up and pretend like you're someone else and have a good time and that kind of thing.
What's his name from the Police Academy movies?
Oh, the one that does all the voices
effects.
That you love so much.
Yeah.
You should know it. Michael Winslow?
Michael Winslow.
Yeah.
I grew up in 1985,
mm-hmm.
right? Michael Winslow, he was one of my idols as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just think it's ludicrous to judge somebody based on that. You know, it's like we should be celebrating the fact that, a black kid has a white man as an idol, or a white kid has a black man as an idol.
Yeah.
I think that's moving forward. That, it's the best place we could be in.
Yeah, it cracks me up. Like I just seeing these people that just want to be upset. Like they just wake up in the morning and they're just like, I just want to be upset.
They're so discontent with their life that
Yeah.
they have to get on the internet and go, you know what? I just really want to be cancer today. Like,
Yeah.
That's your life is that bad. Like,
you and I both know somebody who's like that, and it just
I don't talk to him anymore.
Yeah, it's just like it's
I had
like
to block all of his social media accounts.
It's like, come on, man. Like, you don't have to be. Everything doesn't have to be an argument. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to start a fight with everybody. Like, if you've got a real valid reason for being upset about something, by all means, you should definitely voice your opinion and maybe move forward from there. But if it's just like little piddly things that actually don't affect your life, like why get upset about it? I don't know.
I was gonna go and I wanted to make some spooky decorations outside. I was gonna buy a bunch of skeletons and make some nooses and then hang them from a tree. And then I thought for a minute. I'm like,
it's like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
It's probably not a good idea because that's going to offend somebody at some point. So I Google it. There's somebody who had a Jack Sparrow skeleton, right? It's clearly dressed as Jack Sparrow. And they hung it outside their spooky decorations because they had, like, I guess, pirate themed, just a bunch of stupid store-bought stuff.
Yeah.
And people, some lady in the neighborhood started complaining about how it was racist. It's clearly Jack Sparrow. Like, it's not the best little outfit they put on it.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's a skeleton, period. Like, our skeletons are the same on the inside. So did she see something about that skeleton that was different? Does that not make her then racist if she can look at a skeleton and go, "Oh, that's a black person's skeleton"? Like,
well, once I Googled that, I was like, "Well, it's not so much. I just don't want to offend somebody. Like I didn't do it because I didn't want to even invite the chance of offending somebody. And it's not that I'm upset. It's just like
it's just sad though.
It's sad. Like
like I can understand if you got like a burning cross in your front yard and then you've got hanging skeletons and things like that.
Actually,
like it's like
it's I don't know. Political correctness seems to have gone so far, and it seems to have infected media to the point where
the media loves it. Because they don't have to find real stories. They can just focus on this crap.
They can just cover on this crap because they can literally fill 24 hours with bullshit.
Absolutely. They love it.
Identity politics is like the number one topic, and it's like that breaches into my problem with it is it breaches into our fandoms. And it's like and it ruins.
Absolutely. Like I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of great steps forward nowadays in our nerddoms. Star Wars is on the forefront of that with a strong female character who did not need to be helped by anybody. Who
did we have a discussion? We went to a panel, and there was a panelist. She was a comic book writer.
Yes, D something or another. Yes, she's a transgender comic book artist.
We had a great exchange with her about it, and I think something along the lines of what she said.
Well, I had asked her. I was like, how do you feel about what I consider like a cookie cutter version
like
of a homosexual character in movies and things like that, just so they can claim diversity, And I believe her response was basically, first off, how can you define a cookie cutter character? I mean, there probably are people out there that act this way or that way,
Yeah, sure.
And she also went on to say that any character that is positively portrayed as being a homosexual in any form of media at this point in time is relatively a good sign. She equated it to like guys who write for female characters and things like that. It's the writer is doing the best they can to have this character in their universe, and as long as they're not making fun of them or not like putting them down or using stereotypes against them, then it's not a bad thing, But
I still say it would be a lot nicer if they actually like what they do. I keep bringing Spider-Man up, but if they actually got someone like her involved in the writing process and actually hired more people who could speak to it, because I feel like I feel like when you portray someone like that on a show and it's not like a natural character, I'll use a great example. Look at the 90s sitcom. You had the male head of the household, King of Queens, Home Improvement, was always this big dumb guy, For so many years, it was this big, ignorant, dumb guy. And it's like, I grew up watching that on TV going, That's annoying. Like, I don't like that.
Mhm.
So I can't imagine when somebody sees a stereotype of, how they identify on a show, that doesn't bother them.
Well, in the comic book medium, the problem is that there's not a whole lot of like women and things like that that are knocking down the door to get jobs as comic book writers at this time. And that's something that I talked to Gail Simone about, because I was like, I asked Gail Simone how she felt about all these guys that are writing for female characters and female leads in comic books and stuff like that, and this and that thing, and she's like, I mean, she didn't have a problem with it, and part of the problem is if they can't find that voice, that feminine voice, um, then they shouldn't be writing the story. But a lot of them find that feminine voice and they do a good job with it. Like Greg Rucka is one who does great for it. He writes Wonder Woman. He does fantastic. But she was saying that there's, there, like, it would be great if there was more female writers and things like that out there in the comic book industry. But there's just not female writers that want to. There's not as many female writers that want to be comic book writers per se right now. So I guess that probably goes to the same with maybe homosexual writers and things like that. There's a few, but it's not like there's women and and other people that I know of, and this is just coming from talking to people in the industry at cons, that are like knocking down Marvel and DC's door, like, give us a job, we want to do this, we want to change the whole face of everything, So you've got comic book writers who are primarily male, a lot of them are straight, who are doing what they can as best they can, and I think a lot of times they find the voice, they find that character, and they do a really good job with it. It's like, it's the same as J.K. Rowling's. She, like, her main character is a little boy, and she, if you read those Harry Potter books, like, as a boy growing up, I could totally understand where the kid was coming from. She found the voice, she did a great job with it, and I mean, just because you are not necessarily that sex does not exclude you from being able to sometimes empathize with that struggle.
I'm not saying so much the writers and folks, is just the fact that I personally see, like, a lot of characters, and I don't know, I see them and I think, wow, they seem like a kind of like a token character trying to get diversity points. Yeah. Or like they seem very stereotypical to me. But I guess that could also be my sheltered experience. I'm a hermit. I'd stay at home inside.
It could be, but I think we're seeing a lot less of that nowadays too. I think now when I see characters that are diverse, like, I typically see like a really good, go at them. Like Marvel especially is doing a great job with this, with their new characters they've introduced. Like the young black female Iron Man, and they didn't even change the names like Iron Maiden or anything. That's Iron Man. The Asian man who becomes the Hulk. Things like that. They're doing a really good job, I think. From what I understand, the writing for those books is really good. I don't typically read Marvel as much as I used to now, just mainly because of the price point. I have to wait till Marvel books are on sale because the price point is way too expensive for what you get. There's not enough words, not enough story for what you're paying for Marvel, in my opinion. But anyways, I feel like we end up on these diversity topics a lot lately, but that seems to be what's going on in the nerd community. Like, there's a big diversity push right now, especially in comic books and media and things like that. Exactly. But this is something we're seeing almost, I would say, daily, in the nerd community, like with all of our different likes, comic books, video games, everything. I keep
seeing this one meme getting shared about the kid from Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. He goes, "Oh, but only 26 white male protagonists this year. Last year I had 27. And I mean, it's a hilarious meme. That's great. And there are those like few people who they have a fit, But I feel like that's one guy out there. You know, when I see a character or something, if it's a character I like or if it's a show I like, I don't care if it's well written. I don't care what the character is. One of my favorite movies is Don Cheadle called Traitor, and he plays like this CIA agent spy who's a Muslim character, and he basically averts like this awful terrorist plot. It's a fantastic movie.
Well, he's a fantastic actor.
He's a fantastic actor, but you can really identify with his character, and he is a very human character, So I don't rightly remember if that movie got a lot of critical acclaim, but I hope it did. Yeah. Because I remember it being a fantastic movie. I think I saw it on like USA or something when it was, after it, long went to DVD and then, on TV or something, I forget. But
I'll have to check that one out.
oh, I've got it right there if you want to borrow it.
Oh, I'll just take it right now. Well, we should probably close it up now. We're a little
close up
over
shop.
time, but we had a lot to talk about because we haven't been on in a while.
Damn hurricanes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, congratulations if you survived the Florida apocalypse.
Yes. And if this gets out in time, don't forget that we are having the Nub meetup in November 4th from 12 to 8 at the Famous Face and Funnies / Get Your Fun On store. Please come out there, support us, have a good time. Well, I shouldn't say support us because it's a free event, but just come out there and have a good time. Get some pizza, get some donuts, get some sales on board games and comic books. If you're a cosplayer, come out and and enter the cosplay competition. If you're an artist, come out there and
I don't want to
draw
be the only person there dressed up. Come on.
If you're a board gamer, we're gonna have board game competitions. If you're not a board gamer, we're gonna have demos of board games so you can kind of see why I'm so in love with board games.
If you're not a board gamer, you will be.
Yeah, you will be. And if you're a video gamer, we're gonna have video game competitions. There's gonna be lots of little prizes and stuff to give out, and it should be a good time. So come check it out. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Do remember that on the 5th I am busy.
On the 5th you're busy, but on the 4th we're doing.
Yeah,
this.
I got this revolution thing. I got to start.
I understand. Well, it's remember.
Yeah,
the
well,
5th
it's the only thing I'm revolution. It's ravioli.
Oh, okay.
Chef Boyardee has just gone downhill.
I understand.
So we need to revolt against that.
I understand.
That's my cause this year.
Well, thank you for listening. I'm the Merce.
This is Felton.
And we will catch you on the flip flop.